All right. I have moved back in. We are live. And we are now no longer on break. School begins tomorrow, but I had some stuff I had to do for class today. Yeah. Oh, did I mention a very, 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 very unoptimized version of the demo is live right now, and you can play it. It's in the description. It is linked in the description, but there is a very big issue, and that is that font rendering is not batched, which means you're having one draw call for every character in whatever font rendering is happening, which means when you open this thing, depending on your hardware, you may get like 15 frames a second. It works great on my computer, worked great on the test MacBook I did. Did not work. It had 15, 20 frames a second on my school laptop. So press T to disable that. If you try the demo, press T and it will close all the font and you'll get proper performance. But what we're doing today is we're going to attempt to see how we can fix that. It's not going to be a crazy long stream. I'd like to go eat dinner after this. So I think today we're going to implement batch font rendering. This is today's goal. We're going to implement batch font rendering. So let me just wait for some people to join. Let's see, refresh page. Should also be noted that I don't actually need glasses. I'm simply wearing them because they're blue light glasses. I don't actually wear glasses. I have 15/20 vision. All right, let's see. Let's get started. Yeah, so this is the goal for today. I'm gonna wait for some more people to hop on the stream so I can announce the big news. You may have noticed if you followed my X page. If not, that's okay. But you know what? For now, we're just going to fly this thing around while we're waiting for some stuff to happen on the stream. All right. I think so far so good on this. So we need to get all of this font batch rendering. What is up? What is up? Oh, another detail. UI is now pixel perfect. Initially, it was not pixel perfect. I redid how all of it was rendered. It is now pixel perfect. I can specify the number of pixels I want for the border of UI and all of that stuff. Font rendering is not yet pixel perfect, but that font rendering was implemented in, I think, 2 hours. So there's a lot of issues with it. But I highly, highly, highly recommend all of you to click the link in the description and you can play this for yourself. The demo is live. It's very unoptimized. Press T, it'll close that this pop-up window right here. It'll close it, and it'll increase your performance dramatically. Font rendering is fundamentally unoptimized and really poorly implemented. So today, that's what we're gonna kind of be working on. We're gonna try to get, I don't really know how far we'll get with this. I actually haven't planned any of how I'm gonna do this, but I'd like to get this font batch rendering. That's kind of like necessary. Let's see. Ask me whatever question you want. Okay. First issue. Okay, this is just the code, the hacky solution to the dramatic performance issue. We shouldn't need this. Let's just see. I think I remember why I implemented that. Actually, not. Yeah, that's why I implemented that. For some reason, the depth testing just breaks, which makes sense. I mean, these are being drawn at the same position, the same depth. So OpenGL is just choosing which one it wants to render first. So that's good. That draws the background. This is all good. The problem is this. Right now, we're loading a TTF file. And when you load a TTF file from here, Let's see, where is it? Load font. Yeah, okay. So the issue here is that the way we load, we're using what library are we using? It doesn't matter. We're using a library to load font, free type, whatever, TTF files. And the problem is the way that this works is, if you've ever seen any tutorials talking about like font rendering, the different ways to do it, one of the best ways to do it, I think, at least just, you know, in my limited experience, is using some sort of atlas. So you only have one texture. So like, think of it this way. I have a picture, one picture, and it has every single possible character I can draw or I can render in this picture somewhere. And when I draw quads to the screen for the characters in my engine, what I'm doing on every quad is I'm changing the UVs of that quad so that I'm basically taking a snippet out of that master texture, that master font texture, which basically lets me bind one texture, render everything instanced, and it's just a matter of changing the UVs, which is great. And that's very straightforward to me. I think I could implement that very easily. I have implemented it very easily, I think, before in I think that Java engine. But TTF files, the way this is being loaded is right now we are loading an individual texture from every TTF file. So for every character, we are loading one type of texture. And yeah, every character has a texture. The problem with that, it makes batch rendering a little tricky. So we have two choices. We can keep this texture thing where there's one texture for every character, and then we can somehow batch that. Somehow we can implement batch rendering with like a batched group of textures. I don't know how that would be done. I'm sure we could figure it out. I've never done it before, and it would very much be like on the fly programming. But I mean, what I would like to do is I would like to find a way where I can just get the whole texture. Let's see. Pre-rasterize. What do you mean? I mean, technically that's what rendering a texture is. Like a texture is just a pre-rendered image and you're pasting it in to the screen. I mean, we're not actually using like any blit methods, but yeah, like then dynamically calculate all fancy offsets. What's rendering? We already do all that. That stuff all makes, the problem is, how do we batch this? The font rendering works, but we're rendering every character individually, and we don't want that. We want to render everything in one draw call. We have to do that. We can't leave it as it is. This is so bad performance-wise. It is, I'm not going to use time complexity, but it is O of n to how many characters we have, which is not acceptable. You should not have a longer, like, compute. It should not take longer to render something because of how many characters you type into your like UI. That's unacceptable. We need to batch this. So I'm trying to think, how would we batch this? No, the cost of the text has nothing to do with that. That is not the problem. The way that the text is calculated is fine. The way that we figure out where to put everything works great. The problem is how we're drawing it. The problem is that OpenGL, if you've ever worked with OpenGL before, the way that things go, the way that rendering works is there's two types of rendering. There's regular and instance rendering. There's many other types, but the types we're concerned with are regular and instance. So think of it this way. I have to rebuild. Let me just explain to you the issue because it's an interesting issue. It's a fun technical problem. All right. Right now, every character, what we are doing is we are drawing, I'll show you the quad actually. I will show you exactly what I'm talking about. All I have to do is change one shader line and you'll see exactly what the issue. I'm aware, and that's not what I mean. Oh, okay. Just making sure. Yeah, it's just we need to batch this somehow. So I'm thinking we have two choices. We can either do the UV method, which I prefer. I think that would make much more sense. And the only thing limiting us from that is figuring out how this library that I use, it's a header only. I believe it's what? Free type ftmod API. It's just some free type library. It was like the default OpenGL. What was it? Yeah, free type. is the library. And I don't know if it lets us access the whole TTF file as one texture. I think it should though, because I mean, look, we're loading what? A texture of a certain width, a certain height, and we're getting the glyph. So it looks like this is the texture. So technically, here's a thought. Instead of doing this text image 2D thing, because it looks like this width and offset, this bearing and all of this, could be used to compute where it is. Let's see. Is to detect every glyph you'll need and compute that. You're either way beyond me and I don't understand, or you maybe misunderstand what the issue is. I'm going to go with the first because it doesn't seem like you don't know what you're talking about. Pre-rasters every character is that you detect every glyph you'll need and compute all that at compile time. I mean, I'm not sure how we do that. I think it's just instance rendering is the way we're going to go with this, though. I need to figure out if this normal font doesn't change the glyph offset. Hence, you only need to calculate the offsets at runtime. Yeah, I think those are just the UVs. Well, anyway. I think that we have all the data we need. But the first thing we're going to have to change is how textures are stored. Character. Firstly, we should not have a texture stored in the character. We should have an atlas texture here. Atlas texture. Okay, that's the first thing that's going to happen. The second thing that's going to happen is font. At the very end, we'll say, well, actually, we don't even need that. We can just say, we can get all of this up here. Texture ID, and then we will say font.atlas texture equals texture ID. What else? We don't want just this. Glyph bitmap. Wait a minute. Yeah, we do want that. Because this just gives us the whole texture. Free type font face. Load char font free type face C. Oh no. Yeah, this isn't the whole picture. So there's got to be an FT like load atlas method, if I had to guess. There's some method here that lets us do this. So let's see. FT load glyph. Yes, that looks good. That looks like what we need. Face. Yeah, so we'll do font.free typeface. Glyph index, it should be just the first, and then ft load render. Okay, and then we'll actually just change this into our standard error checking. And we'll just take this. Okay, failed to load glyph, and we don't even need that. We can just say failed to load glyph. Should probably get, let's see, from resource path. Okay, that should work. And then we only need all of this stuff up here, inside texture ID. Let's see, glyph dot width. I would first like to make sure that this free type is much bigger. So let's see, std cout atlas, and then let's just debug the width. Free typeface dot glyph dot bitmap dot width, and then let's compare it to what the standard would be. Because if the standard is like very small, then that's fine. That makes total sense. Oh yeah, whoops, my bad. We'll, well, we don't need to worry about any of this, honestly, right now. We'll just take all of this and leave it down here temporarily. What did I do wrong? C.second.texture ID. feel like yeah, we'll keep that. We'll get rid of all that, and then we'll just debug log font.freetypeface.glyph.width glyph.bitmap.width. And we just want to see that compared to this. And if the what the is there an issue here? What did we? Oh, we got rid of the texture ID code and never put it back. Yeah. All right. Whatever. Gosh darn it, that was annoying. All right, take that, move that there, boom. This should compile this time. And once again, what? Font.freetypeface struct character has no member texture. Oh, yeah, whoops. This is gonna break everything. So let's actually temporarily add back that texture ID. We just want to make sure that this method is loading in the entire font atlas. Oh, we have 6 concurrent viewers. Awesome. You guys should try out this demo. You can play this on your computer right now. And you can do that with the link in the description. It is busted a little bit. The font rendering is very unperformant. So press T and it'll close that window. Right now on stream, we are trying to fix that. That's the thing we're doing. We're speeding up this thing. So you can see we load every texture. Oh, that's not good. So it's not loading the whole thing. We need this to load the whole thing. Maybe it's not glyph. Maybe it's what? What's the atlas? Is that what a term would be? All right, we'll do the free type C++ library. I want some documentation on this. Let's see. Documentation. All right. Glyph convention, free type FAQ. We need whatever the free types are. API reference, documentation. What? Why is there not API reference? I mean, this is an API. What? This seems like a weirdly written API. Library setup, face creation. Font testing, sizing, scaling, glyph retrieval. I don't want all this. I just want ever a free typeface is what? FT load. What was it? FT load glyph. We don't want FT load glyph. Maybe there's another method. We'll just FT load. Load slot. Okay. How to get entire font atlas texture in glyph free type C++. Let's see. Yeah, we need this whole thing. Why is my texture? Whatever, dude. All right. Maybe there's another piece to this. Let's see. Fonts.freetypeface.what? Char map. That could be it. Glyph. We don't want the char map per se. Stream, numglyph, sizes, char maps, height generic, driver descender, char map auto. This seems very frustrating. Like, why? Okay, maybe how to instance render with different textures. OpenGL. Maybe we try a different method, something we've never tried before. Probably should close my Axe account. Is there a way to do that? Using 2D texture arrays and recommended for yields. I've never used that before. Creating the textures in your vertex. It works on my machine. Yeah, it's laggy because of that text window. You can press T to close it. It should speed up dramatically. Yeah, that's what we're trying to fix. That's the problem. It is really laggy. It's insanely laggy because of font rendering. Combine multiple meshes into a texture atlas. Bind multiple textures. Is there a... Can I render an object? Use multiple textures. Multiple textures with instancing. What are the thoughts on this? Texture Atlas. Works with any version. Texture array. I don't want to deal with this. This is like, I've dealt with passing array data to the GPU before, and it's never fun. There should be an easy way to do this using UVs. So how, let's see, load entire font atlas. Bro. Can have times GPU. What's up, dude? Let's see. You send the buffer of character indices, the respective calculated offsets, then you index the pre-calculated tile set. I think the respective calculated offsets. Then you just index a pre-calculated tile set. That's, I think what you're saying is like, why not create your own texture atlas and then make an array of indices, and then the indices tell the GPU which portion of that atlas. Are you telling me basically to create my own font atlas at compile time? Because I shouldn't have to do that with a TTF file. It should just be providing the whole thing. Look, there's another guy. His name is, what do you mean can laptop GPUs like 3060, 60? If you have a 3050 in a laptop, you can do all of this stuff. You can do all of this stuff on like a MacBook with an M, like, we're working with OpenGL. It's legacy stuff, you know? Different textures and instance rendering. That's, you know what? Load entire file, load entire TTF atlas texture OpenGL. Let's see. What do you mean, dude? Can laptops GPU 3050? Yes, it can. I'm a little confused what you're asking. Yeah, you should be able to do OpenGL, what was it? Free type C++. There should be a way I can do that, right? It's just a tile set, just a texture that holds all the used glyphs. So I think we're on the similar page, although you're right, what you're suggesting is a little different. But I want to do something similar because all of that data should be there already in that TTF file, and I just have to bind it one time. How long I've been coding? I've been coding since 6th grade, sort of. So I've been, what? Yeah, 6th grade. I am a sophomore in college, meaning I'm in 14th grade technically. So the better part of 7-ish years. I don't want to fully count 6th grade. I didn't make much progress. Let's see. Free type init. Yeah, there should, okay, load face. Maybe that's the method. Loading entire true type font in OpenGL texture atlas involves yeah. Okay. Load, so it's face. It's not char or glyph. That's good. So load free type. Wait a minute. Sorry, we already have the free type face. So how do we get the texture from that? Free type in it, pixel store I. Yeah, I get that. And then see, it's just giving me the OpenGL. Like that's not what we want. That's not what we want. Clean up. That is not the way we want to do this. But I guess. All right, dude. I'm a little confused. But I think. All right. Yeah, we'll use the character that we want to render as an ID. We'll upload a texture array. Okay. That's what we'll do. What's up, dude? That's disappointing that this isn't going to work. This is going to be much significantly more complicated than I wanted it to be, but that's okay. So we will rise to the occasion. Okay. First thing, let's forget about the textures. Let's just make this one mesh. Input text. Yeah. Let's see. Vertices. We need... Okay. I'm just trying to think about how we're going to put these all into a single mesh, because we're going to have to update the indices as well, which shouldn't actually be too hard to do. But begin draw mesh... Well, if it's instanced... Wait a minute. If we're using instance rendering, we're still drawing distinctly different objects, just at different positions. The problem here is that these aren't different objects. They're literally different meshes. So I don't know if instance rendering would work in this case at all. So what we should do, and what I wanted to do initially, was merge them all into just a single mesh. But maybe the solution is to change how we calculate the positions of these font pieces. There's an idea. Okay. That might make things a little... Well, it won't make things easier. Gosh darn it, man. Why is font rendering always so much more difficult than it needs to be? Like, kudos to whoever wrote the first font rendering system. Like, this is not a fun process. Text management, all of that stuff, like, we take it for granted. Let's see. Yes, I'm talking about text. I just refer to it as font rendering, but it could be wrong terminology. Okay, so begin. We're gonna try to do this with instanced rendering. Gosh, mesh, shader, vec2, screen position, glm vec2, scale, float, rotation, static void, and draw mesh 2D instanced. That's what we need. Mesh. And if we're doing instance rendering, we're also going to need we shouldn't use a vector of transforms. But for now we will, because they're easy to work with. This is... do I really want to do that? Yeah, I do. Transforms. And then we're also going to need that here. And then we'll go back here. Back and begin draw mesh 2D instanced. And then end draw mesh 2D instanced. Okay. And then instance rendering is pretty straightforward. It's just going to be, now we have to calculate, instead of uploading a let's see. Instead of that, we're going to have to draw elements instanced. Yeah. Draw elements. Let me just make sure that we can just copy that if we want it. Yeah, it would be 2D vector transforms, and we transforms dot size. And I think that should work. And then we'll have to go here because for some reason this is what happens. Although I think maybe something happened on this. No, we're good. That should compile. Okay, so now this becomes a question of how do we recalculate text position. We don't have to change any of the vertices, and we don't have to update any of the positions. What we do have to update is the transforms associated with every character. Okay. So every time we draw this... Ooh, this is not, I don't want to make a new array every single time we draw this. So we should just have... Honestly, it's probably best to have this up here. Transforms. All right. And then in here, we can get rid of this because we're not changing the mesh. Instanced. And then end draw mesh 2D instanced. we'll forget about the textures for now. For now, we're just gonna draw the mesh, which would be transforms, yeah. And then at the end, we'll also say transforms. Now there is something down in we should implement. Oh, I remember from earlier. Let's see. Yeah, when we draw meshes instance, we had something else. Yeah, this is what we had to do. I'm not the biggest fan of doing it this way, but at one point we'll just make a separate actual buffer for the transforms, so we don't like have to upload uniforms, because this is a lot of uniforms. This is not. At one point we need to do this the right way. We can't like keep. Let's see, progression. Yeah, so this should be a pretty. We don't need that. We don't need that. We just need this. And we can throw it in. We're going to have to... Oh, crap. We're calculating all of this extra stuff in here. Wait a minute. That makes our lives easier. What am I talking about? Because if we get rid of that, and then this just becomes a question of how many characters are we drawing? Num characters. Num instances. And then if we go back here, we can get rid of that. We can change this to simply an unsigned int num instances. Take that, put it here. That makes things a little bit better. And now we have, the problem is we're passing in one position here. Instance rendering. Why? I want to just draw this as one mesh. I really do. I think that this is a stupid way to do this. And I wish I just had an atlas of... let's see. Because, okay, let me just give you some perspective on this. If any of y'all have ever watched a guy called Thin Matrix, if any of y'all are into Java, video games, or computer graphics, I highly suggest you watch this guy. Thin Matrix. He made a tutorial on font rendering, and I watched this a long time ago. And the thing is, if I remember correctly, I think he made his own... He didn't use TTF files. I think what he had was a plain old, like, PNG image with every single possible texture, font, like glyph. A glyph is just a texture of a character. With every single glyph you could render, and it was just one PNG. And that's great. I wonder if the reason he didn't use TTF files was because you can't do it the way I want to. Let's see. I think he now uses TTF files. Load an entire font atlas. OpenGL, free type, C++. Texture. Let's see. Yeah, so we were thinking of the same thing. That's what I've been trying to do from the beginning. Yes, we're on the exact same page, dude. Maybe there's just a miscommunication. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Initialize free type. OpenGL unpack, yeah. Calculate required dimensions for the texture atlas byte. We are gonna have to do this manually. That's okay. It's worth it. But it turns out you're right. We're gonna have to make our own atlas. We're not gonna be able to use anything. TTF files don't give you that option. So really, our work is gonna be in the loader. This can go back to normal. Because here's the thing. I was hoping, truly, this is my first time working with the TTF file. I'm used to doing it the way Thin Matrix did it. That's how I did it in the past. Most of my projects didn't require font rendering. I just focused on the lighting and the graphics. I like ray tracing. I like that stuff. I did not really need to do font rendering. So this is really a first, in many ways, a first attempt at that. I thought that there was a way that a TTF file had that data already available. Apparently it doesn't. Apparently it doesn't, which sucks, but that's okay. Oh yeah, we're not reading from disk every time we want to render a glyph. I promise you that. that would be more horrific than this already is. That would be an unforgivable mistake. So we're going to have to make a single large texture. So the first thing we're going to need, I'm just trying to think how... Okay. First thing we could do, we could iterate through all of this one time beforehand. I see. We'll make the texture at the end. We will have an unsigned int x dimensions. Y. I don't like initializing things like this, but I feel like this is easier in this case. I one time saw, there's, you know, if any of y'all know Coding Jesus, something that opened my eyes to like C++ and just how wild it is compared to most languages is an entire list of all the different ways to initialize something in C++. It's abysmal. It's legitimately crazy. Like the amount, let me look it up for y'all. Every way to initialize in C++. Let's see. I want to see a complete list of every obscure way to initialize something in C++. I feel like images might have it. Come on. Let's see. Every obscure way. Because it's like legitimately crazy. Many different ways. Okay, let's just see what this gives us. Yeah, there's that. 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 Class initialization admittedly makes a little more sense, but like there shouldn't. And the weirdest thing is, and again, I'm not C++ cracked enough to tell you what the difference is, but I believe there is a fundamentally different, like there's a reason that these all exist. There's an underlying reason why you might want to do this versus this. Most languages don't care. Most languages you make a variable, you assign it, and that's it. That's all you conceptually care about. But C++ gives you so much control that you might want to initialize something a little different. I mean, that's crazy. I like that. I think that's cool. Let's see. So the next thing we're going to need, xdim plus equals bitmap.width. We just want to increase it for y dim plus equals font dot glyph dot bitmap dot. We don't need that. Here's the thing. We could just. Okay, so our texture is just going to be one long mini texture. Okay, and we're going to say if ydim is less than fonts.freetypeface.glyph.bitmap.height. Wait a minute. Is there not a height? Rows. I guess that. I sure hope rows doesn't mean something fundamentally different, but that is character size, so that would make sense. And then bearing, okay. If that's the case, we're gonna say y dimensions just equals this, making sure that we have a texture that is tall enough to store all of our characters. The next thing we're gonna need, so we're gonna have to create this character, well, this texture rather, and then, yeah, length, not height. We just need the length of this. Okay. And then we're not going to make any data. This is just going to be a null pointer. We're going to give it nothing. It's going to be empty in the beginning. And then we will have to iterate through this list twice now that I'm thinking about it. Because, yeah. And then we'll store the texture ID in the font, not the character. And the font we'll just call it Atlas texture because Atlas texture. Okay, ID. And then in the loader, we will not do that. We will say font.atlas texture ID equals texture ID. Okay. And this is just to compute the size of our texture. We probably, okay. So at the cost of making this take a little longer to load a texture, which by the way, this is already pretty basic. We're doing this one time at the start of the program. I think we can afford to double this. And then C++, and then we'll do that separately. You will have to load this twice. That's okay. We do this first to figure out how many characters we're going to load and how big the texture has to be, and then we do it another time to actually assign stuff. But this is where we have to do the sub data part. What was it? Yeah, it was GL text sub image. GL text sub image 2D. All right. And we'll use render doc to make sure everything. Okay. Specifies a target texture. Let's see. Texture level specifies the detail level is the base image. Okay, so we won't need to worry about that. Yo. Oh, why are we doing this at the start of the program and not compile time? Because the way that things are, oh, that's my stream window. The way that things are loaded in this engine is there's a series of, yo, Vulkan is better. I know it's better, but this is fun. The constraints are fun. OpenGLES gives me no features, which is fun. The reasoning is simply I wanted to have it where I'll show you how the loop of this engine works, okay? At the beginning of the program, we initialize all of our backends and stuff, but there's this scene manager load resources. Everything in this engine manages its own resources. So an entity is responsible for creating and deleting all of the textures and assets that it uses. This way, I'm back, I know. This way, it just makes it, for me, easier to keep. I've done it the other way before where there's a master loader class that manages every asset that's been loaded and unloads them all, and you request assets from that. And it's better from a design philosophy, I guess. And it lets you do everything at compile time. So pretty much, I just wanted everything to be able to manage its own assets. So the easiest way for me to do that was make a method, load resources, that every entity has called on it. You can see here, the base entity class, every entity has this opportunity to load any resources it needs and to unload any resources it needs. That's why. And because of that, it's all done at runtime. But it is what it is, honestly. It works. That's my reasoning. We use SCDP more for optimizations. How was the move-in? Painful. I don't want to be back. But it was very easy, actually. I packed up my stuff very efficiently this semester. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna do GL text sub image 2D. Our target is our texture ID. We want the base texture. Offset. Yes. Our offset. Why offset that? So we only care about our X offset, honestly. And our X offset we'll have our own thing. Unsigned int X offset equals 0. At the end of this, X offset plus equals font dot. We'll do this. Having fun is more important than exact. In this case, yes, having fun is more important than exact performance. But, in the future, that won't be the case. But I find performance fun, so maybe I'll go back and do it that way. Honestly, it just never popped into my head. Oh, I can do this all compile time. It's probably a good idea. Catch bugs much earlier. X offset. Yeah, X offset. And then the height. Well, there's no Y offset. The width will just be that. The height will just be this. Actually, is there any reason we can't do all of this in the first time? I think we can. I think we can just leave that all up there. Do you know Tokyo? I don't know Tokyo Spliff. Enlighten me. Format. And then our format for this thing was just GLR8, I believe. Unless, I always forget which of these is the internal format and which of these is the... you know what, we'll try... It throws an error if I do this wrong, so it's okay. Type, GL, unsigned, byte, and then pixels. This is where we actually needed the character data. Yeah, whatever that was earlier, we need that. So we'll just Control Z, grab whatever the heck that line was. Make sure I don't type anything, because then this is all lost. Copy. Move on. Put it there. Okay. That should ideally work. We have to change how we're rendering this. I forgot. GL delete textures. Yeah, we don't have any of that right now. Where am I deleting the text? Hold on. Struct character. Oh yeah, there's a delete font method. Yeah, we don't want that. It's pretty much just font dot atlas ID. That does make that easier. We probably could just delete texture from ID. I think I have a method for that too. There is, right? Delete texture, delete font. That's okay. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we'll get some issues. I just want to make sure the loader implementation doesn't have any immediate bugs. Let's see, font face, glyph. We'll go up here. Use texture, yeah. We'll also go back up here. We will keep that. We only need to do this once at the top, actually. Heck, we only need to do all of this once at the top. The problem is we have to use our shader beforehand, don't we? Okay. We'll have to begin. Oh, wait a minute. This is an issue with how we architected this. Begin draw mesh 2D. I really would rather, we shouldn't be updating vertex position. Well, wait, we're not actually drawing the mesh. Yeah, we don't draw any meshes here. We could get away with altering the vertex data in this spot. Oh, no, we're binding a vertex array. That's a bad idea. Okay. So do we just go through rebinding this in the beginning? I can re-architect this later. Atlas texture ID. It shouldn't be a problem if we just rebind it over and over again. Like, it's not ideal, but I mean, fundamentally, it shouldn't be a problem. We also just have a font somewhere in this, right? Yeah, we have font. Why are we getting issues? Font Atlas. Maybe I misspelled this. Atlas texture ID. Let me just make sure everything is working right. At last texture ID. Oh my gosh. What am I doing? I gotta go back and change that. Let's see. At last. Everywhere I put that word. All right. That is gonna give us issues. That's okay. Glyph dot. Yeah, there shouldn't be dot bitmap anywhere. It should just be glyph pointer to bitmap. Where am I getting that? Yeah, there it is. Okay. This might compile. If it does compile, that'll be a win. Okay. This is gonna probably break it. Yeah, that's okay. It broke everything. We need to get our shader up and running. I think we need, let's see. Yeah, font shader. This is where it is. Okay, this will make sure that most of this. Yeah, okay. So all that's working. It's just we have our texture wrong, and that's okay. Now we're going to use RenderDoc and make sure that this is actually generating the correct texture, because it'll just let us see that. This is why RenderDoc is amazing. Before RenderDoc, I was lost. Now I am found. Go back here. No one can pressure me to put people in timeout. If anything, you're just asking to put in timeout yourself. Have I put? No, I put Ekelbart in timeout. That's what I put in timeout. We can add to that list. I'd be happy to. Oh my gosh. Like, do you see the problem here? Every character is being drawn individually. This is why your frame rate is so bad. By the way, we have 22 people watching. Everyone, right now, go to the description, click the link in the bottom that will let you fly this game. Like, you will be able to play this, okay? And it's going to be very bad performance-wise until you press T. If you press T, everything will, all of the text will go away, and that will just speed up your performance, okay? So go click the link, play the game, comment what you guys think about it, because you guys are in control of what's happening. I don't feel like I'm in control of what's happening in the chat, but that's okay. I'm not supposed to be in control. Texture viewer. Yeah, look at this. Oh my gosh. We're rendering every single character individually. This is not okay. This is not acceptable. You're just playing it? Thanks, man. Yeah, please. I dropped this on X, and I had it on my YouTube. I made a post about it, and like no one played it. And I was like, God, guys, I need the feedback. Like, I know this will be the next War Thunder, obviously, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm not delusional. Which texture 47? I want to view this resource. It's been a while since let's see. Texture sub data. Don't we do that? I want to view it. Pipeline state, mesh viewer, application. Oh, there should be a way that I can do that, right? Is this WebGL? So technically no, technically yes at the same time. So here's what it is. It's C++ and it's OpenGL ES, but I'm compiling it to WebAssembly, which automatically maps all of my OpenGL calls to WebGL. So yes, it is WebGL under the hood. But I'm not writing any WebGL code because I hate WebGL. I really don't like web development. Actually, no, it's growing on me. But like if I'm gonna do web development, it's gonna be full up like, you know, over-engineer everything, worry more about the tech stack than anything else with web development, you know? Like, what front-end framework are you using? What language are you using? Are you using like the newest CSS Bootstrap library and all that stuff? And I'll go all in on that, and I'll have my like fun with that for maybe a month or two, and then I'll always come back to C++. But yeah, that was a bit of a tangent. Let's see. How many? We only load 2 textures. Okay. How to view texture in RenderDoc. I haven't used this functionality in a while. Use the texture view window. Of course there's a texture viewer window. Which texture? Can I... How do I view a specific texture? I feel helpless sometimes. This is like the output. Inspect thumbnails, adjust channels, view a specific texture. From the texture, just click open texture button in texture view. Okay. Click that. View contents. That's not right. There's 2 textures, view content. Ah, so we can see our texture. That's good. Okay. So that's the height map for the terrain. This is the texture we're concerned about. Then it's not empty. It looks about the right size. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it's the right size. It's a giant black bar. That's exactly what we want. The problem is it appears we're not writing any data to it, and that's a problem. So the way we're gonna fix that, the first thing that has to happen is we have to actually upload our data. Why can't I fly straight up? Why can't I? Okay, so you know why? I realized that the way that I did my stalling logic, though it worked, there's a lot more to airplanes like that than you can. You can stall. You can like spin out of control. You can do all sorts of different, there's many ways to crash a plane. If I just have that fixed stalling logic, it doesn't leave any room for any more complex stuff. Think about like, I'm not going to say I'm going to have this level of functionality, but like think about the falling leaf maneuver. Think about the Cobra. Think about all those super cool fighter jet moves that is a controlled stall in many ways. So if I have my stalling logic, none of those moves are possible. Now I'm not going full War Thunder and having like full up simulated aircraft physics and then writing code that can translate all of that into like mouse movement. I don't even want to think about the level of complexity that went into the controls behind aircraft in War Thunder. That is crazy. But I'd still like to leave some room for true physics. So the next thing after this font rendering, my next thing was going to be I want to introduce the concept of forces, acceleration, and velocity. Does that mean I'll have to change a lot about how aircrafts fly? Hopefully not. It may be a failed experiment. Worst case, I mean, these controls feel good. And it is a web game. But I'd still like to have it as close to realistic as possible, if that makes sense. You know, to a point. Of course, this GL texture sub image doesn't seem to be working. Let's see, GL text sub image 2D example. I just want to see, what does this look like? I am one of like the 5 Stack Overflow users, and I take great pride in that. Let's see, bind texture sub image. GL RGB, GL unsetting byte. Yeah. No, we're not going to go that crazy. Bind texture, text image. They unbind the texture. Okay. Maybe there's something there. Bind texture, GL texture 2D, 0, we'll unbind it. And then we'll this feels unnecessary. It's definitely not necessary. But I don't want to be wrong. So maybe it's that we're calling this multiple times, actually. That could be it. We're calling bind texture, and then we're doing that texture sub image 2D. Although, wouldn't that mean that the last texture would work? Although that's not how OpenGL works. OpenGL, like, yeah, obviously that's not going to work. Maybe it's the way, so our X offset, when we iterate through every character, we're doing exactly the same thing as here, right? Yeah, that's right. Although, size, bearing, top, advance X. I really wonder why this isn't working. Because it's GL unsigned byte, GL red. I think that, let's try it this way. If this doesn't run, you know, let's see. Okay, let's check this out. This is so frustrating. Okay. It's a couple builds behind, so let's try again. Capture frames, close, open here. What is going on here? Yeah, resources. Oh, I closed the pipeline. What? Tools. Gosh darn it, I've closed the pipeline state window. Mother of pearl. Resource inspector. We don't need the pipeline state. We'll take that. View contents. It's still not rendering to this. It's still empty. Let's see. Text image 2D offset. What is going on? 0. Y offset. Oh. No, that wouldn't make sense because we're specifying the bottom left corner and then we're going that distance, and that distance. And then we're putting that data there. Unless maybe we... I'm having trouble understanding what exactly... Bitmap top. Bitmap left. Bitmap top. Maybe this is... All right, people in the chat, y'all gotta chill, okay? Like, this is not the place for this. Let's see. What the freaking heck, dude? Why? I'm just trying to think what could be the problem here. It's got to be something with how we're calling. We're binding and unbinding. We don't need to do that. We just need to GL text image 2D example. Yeah, I get that. Okay. We bind the texture, do all that, create an empty texture, unbind it, and then offset width, height. X offset, Y offset, width, height. That should work. Unsigned byte. New data. What? Could it be that we need to load the face again? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe there's something wrong here with the fact that we're loading the characters 2 separate times. Maybe the problem is... Gosh darn it, dude. Why? I wish I could view this right here. Oh, there's a thought. We only do this for the first character. And we will simply do it for, like, the character, I don't know. We'll do it for A. And then we'll load it here. And we will do this, okay? And we don't have any X offset. The width. That should be normal. That should be... This should, in theory, just load the... Yeah, we don't have a continue. This should just load the first character, well, A, whatever A is. And then it should... I can't believe I have to make my own app. You would think that there'd be some functionality that like makes it where I don't have to legitimately build my own texture atlas when loading this thing. I feel like if you have a file format for fonts, that should be something pretty out of the box. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm asking too much, but I don't think I am. I feel like that's a stupid way to do things. But what do I know? Resource inspector, texture 47. Okay, so something is wrong because we aren't even getting that first letter A. We need to figure out why that's the case. This should be 0. The width should be... Where'd I get that hoodie from? Thank you, dude. I got this hoodie, I think it was Christmas 2 years ago. It's my favorite hoodie. It is by far the most comfortable thing I've ever worn. If you ever see me on campus, which I don't think any of you guys are at the University of Missouri Columbia, but if you ever were to see me on campus, I'm likely wearing this hoodie. Unless I'm on an ROTC day, then I'm wearing khakis and a black button-down shirt. My glasses make me... All right, bro. I don't even need glasses. These are blue light glasses. My mom got them for me. And they're awesome. And if you have any problem with that, y'all can take that up with my mom. I probably shouldn't have said that. Why is this not working? Why is this not working? This should... Maybe if we just made it like completely white. We have to read from like a buffer that's that size. Unless we just made it like 1 pixel. There's a thought. We will make it a 1 by 1 white pixel. Wait, that's a memory address. Unsigned int val 225, 255, and we will pass in val. This probably is a bad idea. Don't join the military, bruh. What are you talking about? The military is awesome, dude. Go Air Force. Let's see. My only hope is that I can use what I'm good at in a military capacity, dude. That's my goal. Let's see. If anyone watching this is in the military, hire me, please. Although it's sad because I'm realizing a lot of the stuff is in private contracting. Like a lot of the military tech side of stuff is just outsourced to private companies. So it's like, you know, you want to build stuff for the military? Don't go into the military. But you want to be in the military, you know. You know I can't answer this. Someone who's watching the stream is trying to call me. You know I can't answer this. This isn't even setting the top left pixel. Something's really wrong here. Dude. If you text me, I can read it. Are you actually trying to FaceTime me right now? Dude. Sure, you can ask about the glasses. I grant you permission to ask about my glasses. No, you can always just ask about my glasses. Let's see. Gosh darn it. Text sub image 2D. GL text sub image 2D. Not working. It's not working at all. What is the stack over? Is used to replace parts of or all of your texture that is existing data allocated. Yes, we've specified that data. That works. You have to call GX on the texture at least once before you use this. Yeah, okay. New versions of OpenGL have a new entry point, text storage, that can be an alternative to this. To allocate image data for a texture without specifying the data. It is similar to calling texture but instead of... Okay, that might be something to do, but that doesn't answer my problem. I know how it functions. I don't know why it's not like drawing to the texture. Oh, unless you want to be a pilot. That doesn't sound too bad to me. But, you know, you don't just become a pilot. Let's see. Look, man. I actually may be the worst person to ask about glasses and like being bullied for glasses, but I will say this. I've never seen anyone get bullied for wearing glasses ever. I feel like 99% of the time that's just like movies. Like if you're gonna get bullied for something, I feel like glasses is at the bottom of the list. A lot of people wear glasses. Most people have contacts in. If you want a pair of glasses, get a pair of glasses, dude. Go ahead. If they're bullying you for glasses, then like that's absolutely tragic. On their part, like the fact you have time to bully someone over glasses is pretty low. Dude, another person is calling me on the stream right now. Did you set the render target? I'm setting which texture I need to set this to. Let's see. All right, dude. Yo. I'm responding. Take a hint. All right. Setting the render target. Text sub. I mean, I don't have a render target. They were just setting image data. Dude. I'm just confused why I'm not unbinding the texture. We're generating a texture, binding a texture, setting it to empty data, and it works. We know it works because when we look here, it's the dimensions I would expect. It's just a long empty texture. That's fine. But the problem here is that we can't write to it. This should work. We're getting an offset based on, like, this is just testing. We're just trying to draw the character A to this first slot. But for some reason, it does not, it doesn't work. It's just not showing up. So one thing we could do is actually make sure that this is something like actually working, that we're actually getting like valid image dimensions to work with. Here. Take that. Yeah, 2227. So it is a red unsigned byte. It's got to be this. It has to be that. Or maybe it's not that, because this should be working. Are we never? Maybe it's because we weren't unbinding the texture previously. This should be working. This should be drawing this first thing. I don't know why it's not. So, dude, I'm. Let's see. What on earth, dude? This is cool. Thanks, man. Have you tried the demo? So if you want to play this yourself, you can go to the description and play the live demo. It's a web game. It's going to be a web game. This is not a game. Let's be clear. Right now, this is nowhere near a game. I'm using Zed to code. It's kind of like a bridge. I like to think of Zed as a bridge between VS Code and, like, you know, true developer IDEs, like the truly cracked guys, Emacs, Vim, all that stuff. Every now and then I go to the Vim download page and I just stare at it for a little bit and think one day. But I don't have the time to go in and throw away my mouse. This trial seems pretty sweet though. How much longer till we add weapons? So here's the roadmap. Officially, weapons will come after multiplayer has already started. I first want to have, once flight is completed and once I have a complete UI to work with, because you can't join people if we don't have a UI framework. So once the UI framework is done and once flight is mostly finished, and we could use the flight as is, honestly, and you can join lobbies, I'd like to get multiplayer just flying with a friend done as soon as possible. Then weapons will come. But that'll first, you have to have the flight done. I'd also like to have like the effects on the tips of the wing when you like pull a bunch of G's. I think that's awesome. I've been thinking about how I'm going to do like the pressure particles going over the like back of the aircraft when you pull a bunch of G's as well. Initially I had a particle system I was trying to use. If I could get it to work, it would have been the performance gains. I can get it to look better and work more performant if I actually model the effect as like a mesh and then have a skeleton that like based on the G-force actually has it appear or not. So that's where I'm at. But I think it should work. I think it will, if I can get this freaking texture to work. I have to fix this. Until this is fixed, we cannot make the UI framework because This is such a bad way to render text. This is sick. Any tips, roadmap? All right, here's the roadmap. I'll just pull it up. Here's the Trello board. This is, I wonder, could I host this? Can I make this a public Trello board? If I'll do that off stream and I'll try to make it a public Trello board. But this is the roadmap, okay? In D15 and D12, you have to bind it after you've drawn the data. After you've drawn the data. That would be interesting. I don't feel like that's what you have to do in OpenGL because none of the examples I've seen have said that. I don't want to consult AI on this. I really don't. I really, really, really do not want to consult AI on this. Here's what I will do. What are the freaking kind of textures? I get the reference. Let's see. Okay. I need you guys to make sure I'm not using AI in a way that compromises me as a developer. Okay. I am using GL text sub image 2D to populate a texture atlas in the beginning of a program. The texture, oh my gosh, texture is being created properly. It remains empty, however, after the GL text sub image 2D call. Thank you for sharing this. Yeah, for sure, dude. The issue is the X and Y offsets. Here's the thing. I tried at no XY offset and it still didn't draw it. Which means if there's no XY offset, it should have just been at the beginning of the texture and just, put it there, but it didn't. It didn't even do that. I'll do it again just to make sure. This should draw the character A at the very beginning of the texture atlas. It'll be empty there. Let's see. Launch. No. Gosh darn it. Okay. Capture. Close. Time on the state mesh viewer. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Resource inspector. Texture. View contents. Yeah, see, it's completely empty. So what does Claude have to say? What could possibly be the issue? Most likely texture not bound. No, it's bound. It's bound. Let's see. Mismatch internal format. Do we think that could be it? It shouldn't be because we're creating this texture as just a red channel. Because look, in this example, it creates RGBA, RGB. Yeah, that's correct. Pixel alignment issue. If your image isn't aligned 4 bytes, no, we are already doing that. I'm creating the image properly, but this is the problem with Claude. I am so tempted right now to copy my code and paste it in here. And I guarantee you it will tell me exactly what is wrong with it. But I feel like I wouldn't learn anything if I did that. But it would be so easy to. And this is the conundrum. You know what? We're going to do this in a controlled manner. This is my tech. Let's first, because I'm suspicious. I am binding the texture and creating it, then not unbinding it, then calling the sub image method. Good. That rules out the binding issue. So that's not what could be the problem. Yeah, I got that. Formats are the same, and unpack alignment is called before all of this. I think the issue is with binding. Okay. So at this point, it's just suggesting like generic tests. All right, I'm gonna give in to the temptation, but we're gonna read through this, okay? Because I care more about getting this done Found it. First parameter should be target texture. I see exactly what it meant. Oh my gosh. I am a fool. Target is not the texture we're binding to, it's the I'm so sorry. That was... Oh my gosh. It's working. Yeah. What the... Oh my gosh. So this should now work. We're gonna compile this. We should see a full populated texture atlas. Text atlas. No. Capture frames immediately. Take that. Remove that. Pipeline state, mesh viewer, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Resource inspector, texture 74, view contents. It's something. It looks like G. Wait a minute, that's upside down. And something is very wrong here. Oh my. That is not the look of a healthy texture atlas. I can't tell if this is A being drawn upside... No, is it A being drawn upside down or is it G? I think it might be... Holy crap, I can't tell. Okay, so our alignment is in fact off. We can... it could be... It could be that. Maybe we're specifying the wrong internal format. Let's see. Oh, there's nothing there. Okay, that's interesting. Resource inspector, web dogfight, launch application. Gosh darn it, man. Debugging takes up so much time and is so painful. But, you know, I'm trying to make it entertaining to a level. Because, you know, when you live stream, I see a lot of people who live stream code. And I feel like the problem is when they live stream their code, it just looks like they're not talking. They're just sitting there. And it's like they expect the audience to be purely entertained out of the fact that they're writing code. Sometimes that is enough, but I also think there's an element of like interaction and stuff, which is partially why I'm less, you know, efficient when I'm doing this. But I try to be a little bit more entertaining. Okay, the X offset. Could it be? Maybe. Yeah. Did it suggest that there was any other issue? You're passing a texture. Yeah, it would have thrown that in the air. All right, I get that. You don't need to remind me, Claude. This is when it's overstepped its boundaries. It's a balancing it. It's an A for damn sure. Yeah, now that you write the letter A in the chat, that I can see. Yeah, it definitely is an A. So if it's an A, wait a minute. So if it's an A, then that means the first character is working, which means something is being, you know, it's with our offset. Whoa, that's something. Yeah, so it's with our offset. That's okay. You can see, wait a minute. That looks actually like a much more complete atlas, maybe? Texture 74, view contents. Ugh, what happened here? Wait a minute. Wait. This is good. This is right. It's also backwards. It's upside down. Oh, wait a minute. It was upside down normally too. This is really good, actually. Maybe. Because here's the thing. When these were loaded upside down, for some reason, this returned the character upside down. So, let's see. There's free type returns characters upside down. C++. Because I would just flip the UVs in the fragment shader and it all worked out fine. But because now we're constructing a proper atlas, we can't just have that. And they're asking me to flip the... No. Free type text upside down C++. Yes, this is exactly what the issue is. This is because you're using different configurations. Classical OpenGL uses 0 as the bottom left horizontal texture, while you're using it as the top. So this is... I ended up generating different UVs for glyphs, quads. Okay. Honestly, we could just work with this glyph. The one thing that does concern me is look, because these are upside down, are... Well, do we want to simply load the UVs properly on the fly? That's a thought. We could do that. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Characters will also store a UV. Vec2 UV. Okay. Atlas UV. And what this is going to... It's very useful to know what the hell you know. Yeah, that's true. How come QED is role A and D? Okay, so here's why. And okay, you're gonna hate me for this. My brother is the one who plays War Thunder. He's addicted to the game, and it's actually a very tragic thing to watch sometimes. He's not actually addicted. He's way smarter than I am. But the he said that A and... Yeah, he said the same thing. Actually, no, I think he said Q and E were role, because in War Thunder, you can like hold tab to free look your camera, and you can use WASD to pitch up and rudder with your aircraft. So I'll need to do that. Why are you making this game? Not criticizing, just curious what got you into where you... I like the challenge. Well, here's why I'm making the game. I want to make something other people use. I want to... Ideally, I'd like to have enough people playing this game where I have to worry about server infrastructure. I think a huge part of what I want to do in my career relies on me being able to write optimized C++ code and scale it. So if I can write a web game in C++ using OpenGLES, there's the optimization right there. I'm writing code with one hand tied behind my back, basically, because I'm using an outdated API. And then if people start using this, I have to worry about how my code scales. I have to worry about production, stuff like that. That's the goal. Why am I making it a browser game? Ease of access and less competition. If I made this a Steam game, you know, I'm competing, like, it's a Steam game. It's literally like winning the lottery having people actually play that. So, you know, I figured if I'm making something, I might as well make it a web game. More people play those. I have great experiences with multiplayer web games. Some of the most fun I've had has been in multiplayer web games like Krunker.io. I have memories playing that game, specifically gun game, and sending my friends into like a spiral rage because I would knife them over and over again. They could never get past the first. It was great. It was so fun. I could boot up instantly, anywhere. So that's the idea with this game. Build with Emscripten? Yes, I'm using Emscripten. Here's what we're gonna do. When we load this, actually, we need to set character dot we need to set UV to be something, but when we draw the character, we're going to set this to be the character's UVs. Yes. Yeah, ch dot atlas UV dot x. Oh, ch dot atlas UV. Oh my gosh, dude. Dot y. Every now and then I get a case where I just can't like. Okay, hold on. Every character should have a certain size. We only need the bottom and top corner, and we can just pick and choose as we go. So here's what we'll do. We'll get our min and our max value, and we'll compute it when we load this in. So min UV, glum, vec2, max UV. And then back here, this will be ch.max UV, wait a minute. Hold on. Dot y, I think, because that's the max y value. ch.min uv dot x. This will just be ch.max uv dot y dot x rather. Take that, move it there. Let's see. Will there be a blue for Greenland map? I have no idea what that means, but I mean, maybe there'll be a map creator. Who knows? I don't want to hold myself to that, because, you know, map creation in general is a whole nother can of worms. Because then, like, if I had a map creator, like, how do you have people upload their maps? How do you have people share their maps? You need a map file format you have to now think about. Oh, I have a font size thing too. This isn't about that. This is about having every character know which UV to use. And then if we get this to work, what we could do is we could have it, we could just merge all of these characters into one mesh and draw it that way. Because this is just vertex data. If we were to just technically put this all into one buffer, I think it might work. There might be some issues. All right, dude. Oh my gosh. These comments, man. They are crazy. Min UV equals what? We need to know, okay, so we need to know the full size of, so we'll get, first thing we need is our character again. We're gonna need access to our character again. Character reference char equals fonts. We'll just do this. We'll say font, what was it? Font.characters C rather. Dot. Yeah, that's why. That's exactly good save there. Yeah, that's why I can't have a map creator, because someone might make that. I'm glad you were thinking about that. I mean, gosh, dude. Dot max UV. Okay. So if we set this to 0, 0, just for testing, and then we set this to 1, 1, everything should work the same right now. We should see like the whole font atlas being rendered. Yes, that is correct. It is working. Okay. I meant to have seriously? Yeah, no, but like if you actually meant that remotely seriously, yeah, that's also a valid concern. Like you have to now moderate stuff. Or you don't moderate it and your website, your game quickly descends into the nightmare that people make it, you know? I mean, let's be clear. If I made a map creator and anyone can make whatever map they want, you really think people are all going to make like incredibly cool stuff? I mean, I feel like the internet tends toward the worst case scenario. So there would have to be some form of like checking stuff, and I'm not going to be checking every single map. I barely have time to make the damn game. Let's see. Okay, so the next thing we need is to get every single individual character UV. How would we get that? So we know, okay, so this actually, we know where our character's bottom left is. It's right there. And we could still flip the UVs in the fragment shader, actually. Now that I think about it, our font, are we flipping the UVs? No, we're not. There was a flip UVs method somewhere. Worst case, we can, let's see, types, loader. This should work. Okay, so we will need the offset. The min will be X offset. Well, at least for the X offset. And then it will be, I think for the Y, 0, 0. It's always going to be that. And then for this, it's going to be X offset plus this. And then it should just be the height of the font as well. This is, I'm curious to see the results we'll get on this, actually. I don't even want to predict what will happen. Oh, great. Wonderful. F offset width. Because think about it this way, that's the, oh, I know what it is. This is in pixels. We need to get it a fraction. So X offset divided by what? X offset divided by whatever our maximum texture size is, which is X dimensions. And this is going to be int, so we'll do a static cast. Float. We only need to cast one of them. And then we'll do the same thing here. X dimensions. Yeah, it's in pixels. Great point. And then we'll divide by Y dimensions. Let's see. This should work. Oh, it works! It works! And now, let's see if we can merge this all into one font and then draw this all one time. And if that works, we can calculate this mesh just once at the very beginning, actually. Now that I think about it. We don't need to do any of that. Oh, this is great. So here's what we'll do. We're using this one atlas. We're using the UVs here. All of this can remain. We aren't using a different texture ever. So we can move this text rect to in the initialize method. That's what it'll be at. Wait a minute. We can just do it at the end of load resources. And we'll have to create our entire mesh. Sure, but that's fine. And we'll remove all the graphics stuff. For here, we're going to... Yeah, we don't need this scale factor. Whoa, is that font scale being computed here? No. No, this can all be thrown out. Yeah, this is great. Okay, so we will use a vector of vertices. That's another thing. Actually, do we want to update? Yeah, we'll update with all these vertex positions. We can get rid of all this data because it'll be copied over to the GPU. And this vertices thing, we know exactly how many vertices we're gonna need. What? Every single character is gonna need. No, we don't know how many characters we're gonna have. Yeah, so we should probably have a vector. Vertices. And then we can say vertex v equals that, and then vertices dot push back vertex. And then this is not gonna work off the bat. That's okay. I just want to see if all this stuff, like, let's throw all this out. Let's see if we don't get any compile errors. Ah, we need this. Wait a minute. X and Y. Is X and Y being? Yeah, we are using X and Y. So we'll take this, move it up here, up to there. Yep. And then we'll get rid of, oh no, yeah. We'll get rid of all this. Oh shoot, I didn't get rid of all the other stuff. We'll just copy all of that, move on to where we were. Load resources, draw, remove all of this loading code, and then we should just be able to draw it one time. So now all we have to do is make sure that we're merging this all into one mesh. Yeah, so I know there's a problem there. Vertices. Yeah, we don't want that. We want dot data. I believe that's a method, right? And then vertices dot size. Yeah, num vertices. What? Pushback vertex? What are you talking about? That should work. We're saying vertices there. Pushback V. Whoops. My bad there. Let's see. Update text position. Update mesh positions vertex. We don't need that. And this should give us something. We might have a problem somewhere. That's okay. Where is that? Widget.cpp 110. Oh, wait, what? Too many braces around. Unsigned type int. What do you mean int? This is... Oh, wait, this is a list of 4 vertices. V1 equals this. Yeah, my bad, my bad. Vertex V2 equals this. Vertex V3. Also, if any of y'all follow programming on YouTube, what are anyone's thoughts on the fact that the Cherno, like one of the single best resources for C++, has not retired, but like moved towards the AI space? I've been a long time follower of his, but my thing is, you know, I'm not going to criticize him. You know, like what he wants to build is what he wants to build, and that's all right with me. But at the same time, it is a little sad, you know? And then what are we doing wrong here? Yeah, something here is wrong. Text mesh. We are, you know, just putting all of that vertex data together. Of course, that's a problem. I want to see if... Because my thought was this would just, you know, draw the last Actually, I'm not even sure what is going on here. Let's see. I'll go see. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna have different types of planes. I promise you that part. Different types of planes are gonna be a thing. And then that offers, like, you know, customization. What does that look like? I'd like to keep that as minimal as possible, I'll be honest. I mean, I think, you know, you can change like skins on the plane. That'd be cool. And I could actually manage that. But like maybe loadout. The thing is, like, you add so much complexity when you add features like this. Like, you don't just add customization. And because this is networked, any customization someone makes to a plane has to be synced over the network to whoever they play with. So like there's so much stuff there. Let's see. Not AI space, but robots. Yeah, well, not AI space. I mean the AI space. He's training robots using he's using the Hazel engine he was working on, but it's being used to train robots. But the robots are being powered by a neural network. So it is kind of the AI space, but it's not the vibe coding, you know, LLM AI space. That would be bad. That would be really bad. I'm curious what's going on here. I know I have to change the indices. Let's see. Yeah, we're making this buffer way bigger than it has any right to be. Num vertices for text data. Yeah, so we have to, we're just gonna have update mesh data, okay? Update mesh vertices. We're gonna have to change the indices. I know how we can do that. Honestly, yeah, unsigned int pointer indices int num indices. Let's see. Go there. There are other good devs for CPP, but they won't help you when you have to do your own thing. Oh yeah, no, it's not a matter of like. I'd say I'm long past the point of going to YouTube videos for any sort of actual help with programming. It's more, I loved seeing the development of that engine. I actually really wanted to use it, and he said he's going to keep working on it, but I felt just a sense of like he might be stepping back a tiny bit. Oh, why not for the types? I don't know. When I was in high school, I was super excited about AI engineering. Then I quickly realized it's just boring. It's coming forward. I want to be careful what I say here, but I personally think AI is the most boring field of computer science. I know I shouldn't probably say that, but fundamentally, like, I like building stuff, not data analytics, okay? AI is a more data science-based field. Curating data, training an AI to recognize patterns, all of that. It's cool. I'm gonna like not say it's boring, but compared to the other stuff, compared to like working on tech stacks, compared to how languages work, compared to the more like I'm in complete control deterministic code, I think that's exponentially more interesting than feeding a neural network more data and giving it more compute and then poking it afterwards to see what's new about it. That is my thought. But yeah. Exactly, yeah. Now, I also, you know, I think there's also a moral question to ask, you know? Like, because, you know, there's a good chance this whole AI thing is all hype. But there's also a chance it's not, you know? Like, what then? Like, if it's not, do you really think you're building something that's good? I don't know, you know? Yeah, it's boring. So many trials, but it's a cool field. Like all computer science to me is inherently interesting. But, you know, some things are a little more interesting than others to me. That's all. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I would be over like if what? I mean, if I had some super cool AI startup that I really thought was making a cool product come to me and be like, "We want you on our team," dude, I'd be stoked. But like, I'd much rather have like some software like, You know a company that I think is building cool AI stuff, but is also still keeping track of like its own, like software, half of things? Anduril. They have an AI software. It's called Lattice, but it's very cool. It's all data visualization, battlefield data visualization. It is not an LLM. I'm tired of LLMs. That to me is cool. We need to change how we're getting the indices. And I think we know we can get it from this create quad method. Let's see. Yeah, create quad. How are we getting the indices? Are this? Honestly, we could just say like, what? I know what we could do. We need to establish what? std vector unsigned int indices. And then when we append to the indices, because we're just going to copy this for now. This is the indices per face. Is making a YT channel worth it for finding jobs? I don't know, man. We'll find out soon, I hope. I mean, I'm not doing this entirely for job prospects. I'm doing it for not networking. I don't like that term. Networking sounds like a business pro term. I'm doing this because I want to get, like, I think look, undeniably the market's rough right now. I think the best chance I personally have is if I can catch someone's eye, honestly. That's my hope. If someone sees something I'm building and is like, that guy is doing something cool, we could use him on our team. They're much more likely to give me an internship or a job than if I cold email someone or cold resume send. I mean, I see these hundreds and hundreds of resumes being submitted, and like 2 of them get a response to schedule an interview. And then of those 2, like maybe 1 of them, they get passed, I'm doing that. Don't get me wrong, but like I think there's some value in also like having something you can point to. I mean, don't get me wrong. On my resume, it says I have a YouTube channel. Here's the link. Go watch it. It gives you a better sense of who I am than my resume does, which is cool to me, Gosh darn it. Who is calling me? But yeah, I mean, that's just my thought. Okay, so we need an offset for like how many indices. I first want to see what we're rendering right now, because I couldn't tell if that was a quad. It is just a giant quad. Would that make sense? Wait a minute. If I'm just doing this, I'm merging all the vertices together. Maybe I could draw like wireframe or something. I need to look at this a little more. Oh, I have an idea. Vec4 P UV. I think what you do planes of aerodynamics? Not yet. Right now, it's all very deterministic. That's what I feared. Okay, so the UV, like this whole cube, this is a big problem. The font is, yeah, none of this is being updated. Why? Why is none of this being... It's okay. We're just going to say... You know what? Yeah, we're just going to make our indices. We're going to... Indices.push back 0. And we'll just copy all of these. And then we're going to have like an offset, Because, you can't just repeat this over and over and over again. We'll remove that. And then we'll get indices. Oh my gosh. I don't even have I'm GUI. Indices.data.size. This should compile. This should give some sort of, it's something. What? Here's a thought. Why? Okay, so if we remove all of this code, I think it's gonna stay the exact same, actually. Now that I think about it. If we remove this, yeah, none of this is actually being applied. Why? It makes sense. No, I mean, it doesn't make sense why none of this is being update mesh of vertices, text mesh. We're binding a mesh. Let's see, what? Let's unbind. Let's not unbind the buffer, okay? Shouldn't matter. Yeah, num indices. That's the first thing. Indices. That shouldn't. Kill buffer subdate. Yeah, we shouldn't be having any. Like, I wonder why the data is not being updated. I mean, that's not good. And it's just going to give us, yeah, it's giving us the whole font. So this quad is not being changed. We're having another situation where the data is not being changed. Why? Is any of this actually being applied? I mean, I get that should work. Are we doing something here? Are we just resetting anything? Update mesh vertices. This shouldn't. We're creating a quad. What happens in create quad? Like, yeah, this is our create quad method. No, that's create cube. Yeah, this is create quad. VBO, EBO, widget. Why is none of this being updated? Text mesh is what we want. Why is none of this being... Here's a thought. It worked when we did this, right? Let's see what our old code looked like. And then I will have to get off soon because I'll have to eat dinner and do all the boring stuff that comes with college. Let's see. Graphics, gameplay. What did it look like previously? It was in gameplay. This is... It was in... What file? That. Widget. That CPP. What? So the way this worked initially was whenever we drew, we did all this stuff. We would update mesh vertices. So this is not going to be performant, but we can tell if something's like wrong with... We could just move all of this code into the update mesh vertices area. Where did this start? It started after this. This is not going to be good. No, but it does still actually give us a little bit of insight into what's going on. Vertices, data. Were we doing anything before that? Widget.draw. Shouldn't this be working? I mean, our vertex positions aren't changing at all. Nothing's changing. Is it this? Let me just draw again. Yeah, for some reason, it's just giving us all of the font data. I'm just trying to merge all of these meshes together. And, you know, obviously, we're going to need a mesh offset. So maybe that'll... Maybe. I don't know. This could be a bad idea, but... index offset. Index offset 0. And then we have to do, you know... Index offset plus this. And then index offset plus equals what? We added 6 of them, so that's that. And then every time we update this mesh, this could... That looks interesting. What's going on up at the top there? That looks different. We're gonna debug with the UVs again. Nope. Disappointment. Complete disappointment again. Why? What is going on? Widget.draw. What is going on? None of this is... Okay. Is there something wrong with how we're updating this stuff? Mesh.ebo, array buffer. We're doing things right there. mesh.ebo GL buffer subdata. Okay. GL buffer subdata. This is the same as the subtexture. Yeah. Updates subset of data store int pointer offset size data. Yeah. That should be it. We got our num vertices, indices, but it's not updating anything. GL buffer sub data not updating anything. Why? Why could that? Buffer synchronization, unassigned allocated memory. So tell me why it all worked earlier though. All right. Well, honestly, that seems like a good stopping point. I will probably, I don't know. I'll have to fix this tonight. I don't have time to just stare at it. I honestly might ask Claude to find the stupid error I probably made somewhere. I don't want to do that. My fear is also because school's starting more. I won't have like nearly as much time to work on this. So I need to figure out how I'm going to do this consistently. By the way, there is no stream schedule, but I'd like to stream consistently. It looks like it might be on Saturdays, but we'll see what I can do. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Keep playing the demo. This will be posted on YouTube afterwards. So that's how you can access it. You can also do it at my X account. And there's a post on my YouTube channel somewhere if you want to play the flight demo.